Hey guys, and welcome to part 2 in our Pygame RPG series here on the Coder's Legacy channel. In the previous part, which is part 1, we took a look at some basic but very integral game concepts. Okay, some very important game concepts like creating a player, creating a world, making animations for that player, controlling that player, implementing some basic physics like gravity, and creating an enemy with which we could interact with, by which I mean attack and receive damage. And we made some platforms with which you could jump on. We made a health bar, item drops upon enemy death, some pretty cool stuff like that. Okay, so those are basic concepts, but pretty integral to making a game. Okay, a basic game. But it's time to take it to the next level and truly make something that's that's more than just a simple game confined within a small window and not much replay value. Okay, we want to be able to interact with our world and do some cool stuff. So that's basically what part 2 is about. The concepts in here will be trickier, but also be more complex in the good way. Okay, like we'll make a level manager. Okay, we'll make an inventory system. We'll make a magic system where we can cast spells. We'll add in new items like mana potions. We'll add in what else? We can add in stuff like music and sound. That's a definite. That's a must. Okay, and what else is there? We can add in new enemy types. Okay, I have a lot of ideas. Nothing is set in stone exactly, so you guys can still recommend some ideas that you may want to see in the game. Okay, so if you have any ideas like that, you can leave them in the comment section below. So this is going to be a pretty short video because there's just a few fixes, a few bug fixes and improvements that I came up with since part 1 that I thought we could add. Okay, because the next video, which is basically about the level manager, we're going to need a whole video for that. Okay, from start to finish. So yeah, there's no time. I need to basically separate these bug fixes and stuff from the level manager video. So I made this small video. So yeah, so let's go ahead and actually work on it. Okay, here are our game files. Okay, exactly as we left them from video 9. Okay, part 1 is from video 1 to 9, by the way. This is video 10 onwards. So what I'm going to do here is just go to my game file and player file, which are opened up here, okay, and yeah, one thing before that, I've actually changed some of the image files over here and added some new ones. You can see some building images in here. That's basically what we're going to be adding in the next video. And I've also changed the dimensions of this a bit. I made it a bit more vertically larger. Okay, never mind that though. Here is the inventory. Okay, this is the background for it that shows up. Here's a mana potion, etc., etc. So yeah, and of course I'll have all materials available for download, so don't worry. Okay, and let's open up our game file and run this code. There are 2 slight problems that I want to point out, or actually 3 in total. Okay, problem number 1. You see the ground over here? I think it looks a bit too large. Okay, I mean vertically, that is. It's a bit too vertically large. Okay, and frankly, we don't need to be seeing so much of it. Okay, like I think that we could easily get by just reducing the height of it a bit. Okay, because that'll also give us some more space to work with in the game, because I think we're running a bit low on vertical space. Okay, and once we begin adding in more platforms, we may feel this even further. Okay, so let's go ahead and resolve this first, and this is actually why I increased the dimensions of the background. Okay, so it wouldn't look weird when I did this, when I lowered it by 20 pixels. Okay, I've lowered the ground by 20 pixels. It looks better now and more natural. Okay, so yeah, that's a good improvement, I think. The second improvement that I want to make is with our jumping. When we're jumping normally on platforms like this, it looks fine. Okay, but there's a slightly different issue that comes to light when we're jumping on platforms that are slightly out of reach, like this one over here. I'm gonna jump, and we see a sort of glitch happen where once we collide with the platform, we immediately warp to the top. Okay, this is kind of a problem. We don't want this. So I'm going to go back to my code. This is a problem that I noticed earlier, but I wasn't sure how to fix. But the fix of it basically lies in this code. Okay, what I need to do basically is simply change this line a bit, because currently what it does, that it puts you to the top if you are below the platform. And this kind of worked fine while we only had one platform, the ground basically. But once we ended up with more platforms, this ended up as a problem, because if we're colliding with the platform and we're below it, like we're just below it, like maybe our head is basically grazing the platform, then what happens is that it warps us to the top. We don't want this. So I'm going to change the code a bit to this. Okay, and you can go ahead and sit down and think about why this is fixing the problem. It's a bit tricky. You just need to sit down and think about it. But I'll just show you that it's now fixed. Okay, watch. Okay, it's no longer warping us to the top, which is exactly what we want. Okay, it doesn't look unnatural anymore. So if I want to jump onto it, I can only jump onto this platform, then jump onto it. Okay, so that makes more sense. Okay, so yeah, pretty much. And the third improvement that I want to make is with our jumping, because currently this is something that's become more of an issue. Once we start adding in more platforms, that if I want to make a short jump, like if I want to jump from this platform to the other, I need to basically, well, I don't need to do anything. If I press spacebar, what it does is basically makes the player jump at his full height. Okay, he jumps as far as he can, his max jump. Okay, so what if I want to make a small jump? Okay, like what if later on we add in several platforms? Okay, and because the player is jumping at his maximum height, this can cause problems. Okay, so what if I want to make a short hop, a small hop from one platform to the other? Well, I'm going to implement something called jump canceling for this. I picked this up from a platformer game of mine. So what I'm going to do here is go over here and make a new event type is equal to key up. This is basically if key down is when you press the key up is when you let go of that key. Okay, so I'm going to make one first, this key space. Okay, and I'm going to call jump cancel from the player. Okay, and yes, I'll make this function in a minute. So basically what happens is that if you hold down the spacebar, then the player.jump function will be called. And as soon as you let go, the jump cancel will be called. So basically what happens is that if you simply tap spacebar, the jump cancel function will be called a lot earlier. Okay, and we'll see this effect very soon. Don't worry. I'm going to come down here, create a jump cancel function. Okay, and it says if self.jumping. Okay, we want this function to take effect only while the player is jumping. Okay, and if the player's velocity is less than or greater than, it's going to be less than, because it's actually not less. Actually, it's actually hold on, give me a second. Let me complete this first, then I'll explain it. Self.vel.y is equal to -3. Okay, so here's the thing. Just remember one thing is that when we jump, we gain negative velocity. And why is that? Is because the values of y decrease as the player jumps. Okay, that's because the value of y increases downwards. Okay, 0, 0 is the top left corner. Remember that. So basically, when I'm saying that self.vel.y less than -3, it actually means if the velocity is greater, like 5 or 6 or 10 or 12, which is basically our max velocity. So basically what this says, that if this function is called and the player is at a high velocity, like 6 or 7, he's still midway in his jump, he hasn't reached full velocity yet. So actually wait, hold on, he will have full velocity, but he won't have reached the top of his arc. The gravity is a constant downward force, so the gravity will not have cancelled out his velocity by then. So basically, if the velocity is greater than -3, basically, I'm saying greater than because it's going to be -6 or -7, its magnitude is higher. So if that's the case, then set it to a low value. Okay, and this seems a little confusing, I know. But basically, the very basic idea behind it is that if the player is jumping, okay, and he presses the spacebar to jump, okay, and he quickly lets go of space, okay, what happens is that we set his velocity to a lower speed, okay, not minus 12, we set it to something like minus 3. So let's run this now, and I'm going to show you the difference when I tap spacebar now and when I hold spacebar. So let me hold it first, okay, this is like last time, okay, now let me briefly tap it, okay, I'm very briefly tapping it, and if I tap it in different variations, like I tap it for maybe 0.1 seconds, or if I tap it for 0.2 seconds, we can see a variation in how much he's jumping, okay. So yeah, that's pretty cool, and this helps us with platforms, because if I want to make a short hop, so I can just do this, okay, and that makes a lot more sense, okay. And yeah, this is definitely going to help us in navigating platforms later on. So that's it for this video, and in the next video we'll start off properly with part 2 with the level manager, okay, which is a pretty cool concept, so I really recommend you check that out properly. And as usual, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, okay, leave a like, leave some comments, okay, leave some feedback, okay, because your feedback and motivate, and you know, it's kind of a motivation source for me, so I need some kind of incentive to keep going with this. If you guys are interested, if you guys still want to see more, then we can continue the series indefinitely, okay, because it really depends on you guys how far we take this series, okay, so definitely do leave some feedback, okay. So yeah, that's it for this video, and I'll see you guys in the next.